I am Scheherazad, Queen of Persia, and I am very, very old now. My hands, which once trembled with fear, have long since found their peace. My king, the man who once terrified an entire kingdom, sleeps quietly in his grave. And I am still here, still telling stories. People ask me sometimes, how did it begin? How does a young woman walk willingly into the arms of death and come out the other side a queen? The answer is simple. She tells a story. But before I tell you the stories I told him, let me tell you the story he never heard. The one that happened before the first night. The one that explains everything. Sit with me a while. The night is young. Long, long ago, before your grandfather's grandfather was born, there was an empire so vast and so powerful that it stretched from the heart of Persia all the way to the edges of China, touching even the great river Ganges. These were the Sassanidae, and they ruled for 400 years. Among all their kings, one stood above the rest. His people loved him. His enemies feared him. And when he finally closed his eyes for the last time, he left behind a kingdom stronger and richer than it had ever been. He also left behind 2 sons, 2 brothers who genuinely, deeply loved each other. And that kind of love between princes is rarer than you might think. The elder was called Shahryar, the younger Shahziman. The laws of the empire said the throne belongs to the eldest. For 10 years, this quietly broke Shahryar's heart. He didn't want to rule alone. He wanted his brother beside him. So he did something remarkable. He carved out the kingdom of Great Tartary from his own empire and gave it to his brother. 2 brothers, 2 thrones, and for a moment, the world felt right. But the world has a way of turning on you when you least expect it. Shahryar had a wife, and he didn't just love her, he adored her. He draped her in the finest jewels the kingdom could offer. He believed with his whole heart that she loved him back. Then one day, quite by accident, he discovered the truth. She had been deceiving him completely, deeply, for years. I will not linger on the details. Some wounds do not need describing. You can feel them just from the look in a person's eyes. What I will tell you is this. The betrayal shattered something inside him, not just his heart, something deeper, his faith in people, his trust in the world. He had the law carried out, and his wife was put to death. But even after she was gone, the wound kept bleeding. He convinced himself, with the cold logic of a broken man, that all women were the same underneath, that they were all hiding something, that none of them could be trusted. And so he made a terrible, terrible decision. Every evening he would take a new bride, and every morning, before the sun had fully risen, he would have her executed. His Grand Vizier, his most senior official, was ordered to find a new girl every single day. The Grand Vizier obeyed, because what else could he do? But he obeyed with a heavy, heavy heart. The city wept. There is no other way to say it. Every morning brought fresh grief. Fathers stood in darkened rooms, mourning daughters they would never see again. Mothers lay awake through the night, trembling at the sound of palace guards in the street. The blessings people once called down on their sultan had curdled into curses. The whole kingdom lived under a shadow of dread. And the Grand Vizier, the man at the center of all this horror, had 2 daughters of his own. The younger was named Scheherazad, a sweet girl, gentle and kind. But the elder was something else entirely. Her name was Scheherazad. She was first of all beautiful. More beautiful than any girl in all of Persia, people said. But her beauty was almost the least interesting thing about her. Her father had made sure she received the finest education in the land. She had studied philosophy, medicine, history, the fine arts. She had read everything. She had thought deeply about everything, and underneath all that knowledge lived something even rarer, a kind of quiet, unshakable courage. One afternoon, Scheherazad came to her father. "Father," she said, "I want to ask you for something. Will you hear me?"
I can refuse you nothing as long as it is just and reasonable.
I want to be the Sultan's next bride.
The Grand Vizier went pale. He stepped back as though she had struck him. He pleaded with her. He shouted at her. He told her she had lost her mind. He reminded her in the most painful terms he could find what awaited her the morning after her wedding night.
Even if I wanted to save you, I could not. If the Sultan orders me to carry out the sentence on my own child, I would have no choice but to obey. If you do not fear death, then fear the grief it would cause me.
If I fail, then yes, I will die. But my death will mean something. And if I succeed, Father, if I succeed, I will have saved every girl in this kingdom.
She asked him 3 times. 3 times she refused to back down. Finally, with tears in his eyes and despair in his heart, the Grand Vizier gave in. Scheherazad received the news as though it were a wedding invitation, not a death warrant. She thanked her father warmly. Then she turned to prepare, and she asked that her sister Scheherazad be brought to her. When the 2 sisters were alone, the room fell very quiet. Scheherazad leaned close and whispered something. We do not know exactly what she said in that moment, only that when she pulled back, Scheherazad's eyes were wide, not with fear, with something that looked almost like hope. Whatever Scheherazade had planned, her sister had understood. Scheherazade wiped her tears, straightened her back, and nodded slowly.
I will do exactly as you say.
Scheherazade smiled, the smile of someone who has already decided everything and made peace with all of it. She believed, no, she knew, that a story told well enough could do what armies could not, that the right words in the right mouth at the right moment could reach into a broken heart and begin to change it. What was her plan? You will find out before this night is over. That evening, the Grand Vizier brought his daughter to the palace. The Sultan lifted her veil, and even his cold, walled-off heart noticed her beauty. But her eyes were wet with tears, and despite himself, he asked why.
I have a sister. She loves me as I love her. Grant me one favor, sire. Let her sleep in the same room with me tonight. It is the last night we will ever have together.
Shahryar agreed. Dinarzade was sent for. The palace grew quiet. The candles burned low, and in the deep stillness that comes just before dawn, when the darkness is thickest and the whole world seems to be holding its breath, Dinarzade opened her eyes. She reached out and gently touched her sister's shoulder.
Scheherazade, if you are not asleep, tell me, I beg you, before the sun rises, one of your stories. It is the last time I will ever have the pleasure of hearing you.
Scheherazade did not answer her sister right away. Instead, she turned slowly toward the Sultan, who lay awake in the dark, listening.
Will your highness permit me to do as my sister asks?
Willingly.
And so Scheherazade began. And that, my friends, is where our journey begins. One young woman, one broken king, one story, standing between life and death. What did I tell him that night? What story was powerful enough to make a man who had forgotten mercy? Come back tomorrow night. The story is just beginning. I am Scheherazade, and I still have 1,000 nights left to tell.